Hello everybody, my name is Pravus and welcome to Steamed, the series where I go through my Steam library and find the games that I bought but never had a chance to play. Planetbase is a sci-fi colony builder, usually on some form of a desert or otherwise barren planet, and it is brought to us by the same people who are currently making Dawn of Man. This is one of their earlier games, and having played it for a couple hours, it's interesting to see some of the influential factors that have gone into a game like Dawn of Man that are actually reminiscent here in Planetbase as well. But I figure, you know what, this is actually a pretty good opportunity to go ahead and try this game out since I've held on to it for a while and haven't tried it yet, and also it's a really good segue into my next series, so stay tuned for that. Let's go ahead and start up a new game and I'll show you how some of this is going to work. Now we have a few different planets we could play on, but I'm just going to stick on the simple Class D Mars-style planet because I think that's kind of the classic. We could choose a random location somewhere on this planet to set up. I don't think that's a terrible idea per se. What about like right over, I don't know. I want to find some like mountains or something kind of close by. Like right over here. Yeah, this seems like a pretty good place for a base. Perfect, let's give it a go. And here comes the landing pod. Aboard will be, I think, 8 or 9 colonists and a couple of robots plus a load of materials that I will need to use. Now, a lot of this is going to come down to building base structures individually and connecting all of them together. There's lots of different domes, right, that with different functionality that you can connect all of them together into one big honkin' base, sharing oxygen, water, and other such resources. And we want to exploit the planet as much as possible, but also put together a rather attractive base that people will want to come and visit, because we can have a pretty profitable tourist destination as well as a factory destination if we so desire. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is just scrap down the colony ship. Don't need that anymore, and there's a whole load of resources. We have food rations, we have metal, bioplastic, medical supplies, and spares to start. There will be more resources later. All right, let's start by placing down some simple domes. We are going to need an airlock, which is going to allow me to place down the rest of the structure. But actually, you know what? Placing down an oxygen generator first probably isn't the worst idea, so I'm going to place one right over here. And then we're going to place down an airlock over this direction. I'm going to keep it a little bit further away, though, just in case. Maybe something like this. There we go. And we're going to connect these two up like so. And there we go. So our little robots and our workers, engineers, biologists, etc. are going to go walk over, bring the resources to these places, and then the engineers or the constructor bots are going to construct it. Individual colonists have different jobs, right? So workers primarily do the labor of mining, carrying, fabricating basic resources like metal, etc. Your engineer builds robots, repairs robots, constructs things. Your biologists manage all of the plants that you'll need for food. And then there's also going to be medics to heal people and guards to ward off intruders if that ends up becoming a problem, which it might, you never really know. Let's place down a power collector, because I know I'm going to want one of those. A simple level 1 is probably good to start. You can make them bigger by scrolling up, and you can see it costs more resources, but they have bigger capacity. For now, I think just a simple one will do just fine. We'll place one right here. And of course, you need to have them connected. Every single building has to be connected in this game. It's not optional. Now, with the power collector, we are also going to want to have a solar power, and I'm willing to go ahead and place something a little bit bigger, let's say off in this direction. And also, we will need a water extractor to gather water out of the air. And I want to leave myself a little bit of space just in case, kind of like this maybe. So if I place you right here-ish, should be fine. We'll have these all connected like so. There we go. Connect you guys up. You already are getting connected, aren't you? Apparently not. Did I get actually too far away? Apparently I did. We can go ahead and get a connection that away. Okay. Now, in order to get our oxygen generating, we do need to have some water, because obviously we are taking the water and breaking it up into hydrogen and oxygen, pumping the hydrogen out into the rest of the atmosphere or something probably, but the oxygen feeds up into the base. And until we have oxygen, well, people can't go into the base because they can't exactly breathe. But that's all going to get taken care of pretty quickly. Then we want to go for some more internal structures. Now, placing down, let's say, a canteen makes a lot of sense, because this is where people are going to be gathering up all of their food. I'm going to go ahead and make you a little smaller. We'll do something kind of like this to start off. We want to get these guys connected like so. So they'll bring their food in here to eat, ideally. We also will want to get, let's see, a dorm would be nice, but I think a higher priority would be to get a biodome. And again, I want to leave myself a little space to make something bigger if I so desire. So something like this is probably going to be fine. We'll do that. Okay. And you can see here that we are, in fact, generating some oxygen now that the water is being extracted from the atmosphere, what little exists. and pumped into the oxygen generator, so people will now be able to enter the airlock. They can only do so one at a time, so it's a bit of a bottleneck, but they go pretty slow, but there you go. The solar panel, of course, is going to be generating electricity during the day, which is going into a power collector so I don't run out at night. We can also build windmills, which is another way of generating power depending on the current wind strength. But that's not always reliable either. Ultimately, we want to have a mix of both just to be safe. Let's make sure we are building a connection right over here. There we go. So the canteen is, in fact, going up. There's a lot of different things we really need to get pretty early on, though. Getting maybe like a dorm, for example, isn't a bad idea. We could make a really big one later. Don't think it's necessary this second, so we'll place one, let's say, right over here. We'll connect these guys up. There we go. Okay, so we'll have place for them to sleep. The biodome is going to grow food, and then we will also need a processing plant, but I wouldn't mind getting some storage first. So let's try building something over here. I don't know if I want it to be necessarily too big, but this should be fine, and then we'll connect it off this direction. Okay. I want storage because ultimately I am going to be placing a lot of resources in there and trying to ferry them to different production buildings. So right now we are starting with a lot of metal and material, but obviously we're going to run out at some point. We do want to be getting our own metals and our own bioplastics. Getting metals is not too difficult. We simply will place down a mine somewhere out over here connected up to some power. People will go out, gather some ore, and then we can bring that to the processing plants where they can turn it into metal. Getting bioplastics is a little bit trickier. You need to get plants that are high in starch content, so rice or potatoes, those kinds of things. You're going to take that starch and then you're going to process it in the processing plant and turn that into bioplastic. So we want both of those, otherwise we're not going to be able to go very far. So I'm going to go ahead and want to place down, let's say, probably right over here. Ultimately, I want a larger one, but this should be fine for the time being. I'm going to connect it up to my storage, because I think that's a pretty convenient place for it to be placed. And let's see. Okay, we have finished our lab. So once you build these domes, you actually can place structures inside of them. We're going to go to this edit content right here. And you can see there's a lot of different kinds of plants that we could grow. Medicinal plants will go to making medicine. Trees are mostly just to look at and generate a tiny bit of oxygen, but I don't think they're really worth it. These are food plants, and these are plants that produce starch and some food, but not as much as the more food-based plants. So we're going to start by placing down, let's say, some tomatoes. Those will grow fast, but they require constant maintenance from biologists. We'll also place down, let's say, some onions. I think that'll do fine. We'll place down some rice over here, and maybe also some potatoes. There we go. Producing plenty of food and also producing a little bit of starch from both the rice and the potatoes that I can turn into plastics later. We'll need a lot more than this later, but for now, this is good for just only 7 people. We can also place some internal structures inside of the canteen. So, for example, we are going to need to have a table where people are able to eat. That's going to take up a couple of my bioplastic, but that's fine. We also will eventually want a meal maker, which takes our vegetables or vitro meat, which is lab-grown meat, and turn it into meals, but I don't want to do that right now because I'd rather that they make a habit of grabbing the meat that already exists or the food that already exists out here and bringing it inside. That, by the way, is a meteor you might have just seen right there. Those can hit the base. That's a bit dangerous, but okay. We also want to place down, let's say, a water station right over, I guess, here, just so people can take a little drink, and we'll add more onto this as time goes on. Over here in the dorm, we should place down a set of beds real quick, and just one over here for now. A couple of bunk beds, just so people have a place to sleep. No one, demands a specific place for the entire trip on this colony. They'll split up and share beds as much as they need to. No worry about bed bugs in space, apparently, so that's completely fine. All right, so these guys still need to run around and finish building up our storage and our processing plant. Still doing okay-ish on resources, just got to be careful about that. Wouldn't mind getting a wind turbine. Of course, the more things we build, the more power we are sucking up, the more water we need, etc., etc. Getting a windmill just so we have another source of power is probably wise, and I'm going to go ahead and build it out probably in this general vicinity over here. We don't need to make it quite that big, though. Make something a little smaller for now. We can always upsize it later if needed. I'm going to go ahead and get you connected like this. There we go. Okay. I would like to have a landing pad for people to come and visit the base if I so desire, preferably close-ish to the airlock so they can walk over there pretty quickly. So we'll place you probably around here or so, and that should be fine. And this is where new colonists are going to be landing. If you have a well-run base, they are going to be starting to actively add to your colonist list, but also trading ships, which is where we can sell off our excess goods or buy things that we know we are going to need. So having one of these seems pretty darn important to me. I also wouldn't mind having a small water tank. It doesn't have to be anything really big or exciting or anything. It just has to be a simple water tank. Something I can place so that we can store a little bit of extra water if we think that we're going to need it. Right over here is probably okay, and let's just go ahead and attach something like this. Excess water, that way if we do find ourselves in a weird situation where we are not producing any, I'm not going to run out of oxygen immediately. We have just a little bit of a buffer. Okay, so the landing pad is done. We should be seeing more colonists are going to be added into the base soon-ish. And as we are starting to run lower on meals, I do think it may be time for us to go ahead and place down one of these meal makers, which looks kind of like a weird vending machine. We just toss vegetables into it and meals come on out. Okay, sure, why not? Now, kind of like Dawn of Man, we do have these milestones we have to achieve, and you can click on these and you can see what the base is going to look like. It's the same kind of concept there, or rather, this was the precursor to the milestone system that will be used in the current Dawn of Man game that they are developing, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, so we need to achieve a lot of these milestones. That's how you unlock additional planets, etc. Kind of fun. We also reach self-sufficiency, blah, blah, blah. Trading ships are here, so we can buy a few things, including some robots. One fun thing that is in this game that is not in Dawn of Man are credits, so it's a very easy way of just having some extra currency sitting around if you think you're going to need it. That said, these guys usually have pretty massive commission rates, so I don't want to trade with them if I don't absolutely have to. But we'll come back to that, I am sure. Now, as we continue to expand out the base, we do need to be paying attention to what types of colonists we will be getting. If we go to our management over here in landing permissions, we can actually say what kind of percentage we are looking for our populations. Now, the default here is actually not that bad. 40% workers, 30% biologists, both pretty important. At some point, we will want to have some guards, maybe a little bit less medics. Not worried about that right now, so this is something you can adjust. I don't think we absolutely have to, though. Having a little bit of power problems, by the way, trying to build out another solar panel, if at all possible, get some more solar power collectors going on there. But then, yeah, if we can get a little bit more materials together, and we're quite low on metal, it would be good to go ahead and get some more processing going, because we're starting to run a little bit low on resources. Now, of course, this is where a trade ship could be beneficial, but I don't know if I really need to. What I do want to do is sell off at least a few of these vegetables, because I think that they are going to rot before I can really use them. So let's go ahead and try to get some of these credits, and I'll be able to spend these later if necessary. I don't really care about getting any semiconductors right now. I don't care about buying any more of their robots. So this will have to be good enough, and people will gather up the food, the excess vegetables, and go deliver it to the trade ship, and that will complete the trade. Oop, a sandstorm is imminent. There are occasionally going to be some natural disasters. Meteors count as one, sandstorms count as another, which seems mostly just to slow people down. It might also cause some increased durability loss on a few buildings, such as my solar panels, which does make some sense. So that's the thing you have to watch for. Different types of planets have different events, though. I think there can be, like, lightning storms that can destroy your base. Yeah, that kind of stuff. We're not worried about that right now, though. Sandstorms, they're fairly mild. We can handle that. Okay, the factory has now been built. We could place down, let's say, a spares workshop, which is a place where we can build spare parts, which is useful in the event that something like, I don't know, let's say a solar panel breaks down, or in this case, it looks like our wind turbine has broken down. This is going to require some spare parts in order to repair it and bring it back up to snuff, which is why we need some of these. So having a spares workshop is great. Now, it does take metal and bioplastic in order to make a couple of these, so we have to be careful with that. And this is where having manufacturing limits definitely becomes helpful. If we go here, you can see they're all set by default to just make an infinite number, which will drain all your metal and all your bioplastic in no time flat. I instead want to say, let's say, have no more than 10 medical supplies, 10 spares, 10 semiconductors, and 10 guns. Not that we need any of those right now anyway. And then maybe only like 3 of each robot if we eventually unlock the ability to make these. And this way we're just not going to use up all my resources willy-nilly. Okay, you can see that our population has gone up to 23, and now our oxygen consumption is exceeding our production, and that's going to become a problem. So I have set up another oxygen generator down over this way. That should produce oxygen for another 20 people or so. You want to spread these out throughout the base a little bit. If they're all in one area, then they'll fill out oxygen over here, sure, but over time, further and further away you get, the faster that area is going to drain, or rather, it'll be the first to drain, and it's going to take a while for oxygen to get this far down. So spreading them out does seem to help a little bit with your oxygen efficiency. Now, with this thing being built, we do have to be careful that we might start draining more water than I can handle. So this might require another upgrade to that system as well, which requires more power, etc., etc. But yeah, at least for the moment, I think we are going to be just fine and dandy. The biggest thing is we just keep an eye on your basics. You need to make sure you have plenty of power, so that you can man your water and your oxygen production. Do all of those things and then worry about food. If you can manage those 4 basic resources, at least you are going to survive and be self-sufficient. Now it's just a matter of making the base more efficient so you can have all the resources you need in order to progress to build the base that you want. If you can't do that, then you're not long for this world. To that extent, I actually am concerned that we are going to start running out of food pretty soon, so we may want to consider building out another dome somewhere. Unfortunately, I can't build it off in that direction, which is really where I would have preferred to place it, but okay. Can I do something over here? No. For some reason, this patch of ground is untouchable. Weird. Okay. Well, if I place it over here, though, we'd be able to join up a couple of areas, and that's probably fine. I want to build one that's a little larger, a larger dome, which is why it's costing me more resources. Because I'd like to be able to place down more than only 4 pads in one room. Space is a useful commodity in this game, and depending on where you landed, sometimes you're surrounded in a bowl of mountains and you're kind of stuck. So I'm trying to build a little bit efficiently and future-proof as much as I can, but I think for now, we have a pretty reasonable amount of space to expand. Probably don't need to do this, but I'm going to anyway, because larger domes, to kind of vary things up, those look cool. There we go. You can kind of see what I mean about these domes being larger and therefore a little bit better. Instead of only 4 plants, we can fit 12 in just one size upgrade right here. That's pretty darn helpful. Now, you can build even larger with the right technology and fit, like, I don't know, 24 plants or something like that, which would be amazing. I'm not there yet, though. Oops, we're out of power. Well, that's a bit of a problem, but fortunately, it's about to be daytime. Yeah, we're consuming a lot more all of a sudden. Now, speaking of technology, there is a way to technologically progress in this game. If we go here and take a look at text, you can see them right here. Some of them just are unlockables, for example, the ability to build driller or constructor bots or grow genetically modified crops, or they just let you build larger buildings, Goliath turbines, super extractors, that kind of stuff. Now, unlike a game like Dawn of Man, where you are unlocking new science over time, in this game, you have to buy patents. And that means when a trade ship comes by, sometimes they will have technology for you to buy, and it's going to cost you an absolute ton of credits to do so. So if you want to progress, that's pretty much your only option, unfortunately. It would have been kind of cool if you could develop your own science in the lab. Still, if you really need super, super large gargantuan structures, that is the path for you. Now, see, I'm running into an issue right now where I actually have way more plants than I can currently handle, and some of them are a little bit too high maintenance. That's partly on me there, but also we just don't seem to have enough biologists. So what I may decide that I actually want to do is go to my landing permissions and say this time around, actually, we need less engineers, but we do need more biologists. Maybe less medics, but we also do want to get some guards. Those kinds of things. Mix it up, try to get a few more people of the right type so we can have more biologists, so I have plenty of food, so I can support more people. Now, just like in Dawn of Man, there is a prestige system in this game, which is a measure of the attractiveness of our base so that people will want to move here or visit eventually. We can actually see that if we go here. There we go. Currently 77 out of 1,000 prestige, so not too good yet, but as it goes up, things will be getting better and better. Hence why placing things like a signpost right here worth 5 more prestige just to show off your base is a good thing to do. Although eventually we can also upgrade to placing things like a pyramid for reasons I don't even know, and also a monolith. Don't need that right now, but it would look pretty cool. Now here's a fun situation. We could trade away pretty much all of my extra processed materials in order to try and buy the genetically modified tomato DNA, which I don't really think I need right now, but for the purposes of this video, let's just go ahead and do it. Boom, okay. So we're going to transfer all the resources, and we're going to unlock our first technology. Now, some would say that genetically modified food is unhealthy for you, and this game sort of infers that slightly, so I don't know if we're introducing new health complications. But if it grows faster without needing as much biologist maintenance, that's a really good food source taken care of right there. Let's just check that. If I were to place down one of you, it would cost the same as everything else, but let's see. Fast production and high maintenance, it says. So it looks like it's exactly the same as the regular tomatoes, but there's got to be some sort of a benefit. Ah, it's that it produces 4 food instead of 3, so the exact same amount of effort and resources, but a little bit of extra food. Okay, I mean, that's pretty compelling, actually. Now let's go ahead and make use of a new building I haven't used yet, and that would be the Control Center, which is a place where I will be monitoring all people who want to visit and enter into my base and check them as security threats. Which doesn't sound very trusting of me, truth be told, but that's fine because there actually is an intruder system in this game, kind of like raids, I suppose. As we get large and prosperous and our prestige goes up, the ships that come by bringing new colonists or eventually visitors are going to be bringing some less savory types sneaking amongst them. And it's very possible they will decide to bring weapons of their own and try to take the base from me. And I need to be ready to take care of that. So we already have a few guards that have been moving into the base, 3 currently. They will need guns in order to protect this base. We also will need to produce those guns, but then they can monitor traffic, and as soon as it looks like a raider is coming through, we can try to intercept them using our security guards and protect the rest of the base. Ideally, it never comes to that, but it's inevitable. So what I've done in here is place down a security console so our guards can watch any cameras that are in the base. Supposedly, I don't think I placed any down, but I guess they're just there. And they're looking for security threats automatically. I also built an armory where as we produce guns, we can place them, so our security detail can quickly grab a weapon and go and intercept somebody if necessary. Guns, unfortunately, are fairly expensive to make, so it's going to take me a while before I am going to have a worthwhile arsenal. Another thing we could do, though, is place down a radio control antenna, and I'll go ahead and place one down over here, and also a telescope console. We'll place one down over here as well. These are different types of security buildings, not from intruders, but from natural disasters or looking for distress beacons. So if we actually take a look at the external buildings over here, a telescope is something we can build, and this is looking for meteor threats or detecting sandstorms and stuff a little bit ahead of time. Actually, if you build a telescope in conjunction with a meteor laser, we will be able to shoot down meteors before they strike my base. Not too worrisome in this particular map because we don't have a lot of meteors, but on some of the planets where things are a lot harsher, well then all of a sudden this becomes almost a necessity. We also could build down a radio antenna like over here, and this will let us detect distress beacons in space and effectively unlock a missions system. There we go. We have placed down a radio, and it is being manned on the console by a worker. So if anything happens, we'll be able to find out that there's some sort of special mission going on there. The telescopes would have to be manned by an engineer instead of a physicist who's going to be watching for those meteors. So something extra we can add in here. I don't know how important it really is to be watching for meteors and stuff at this stage of the game. Probably not at all. I'm not even sure how really worried we should be for intruders at this point of the game either. Kind of feel like they're not much of a threat yet either. I have actually played for, I think, about 2 hours and still not seen any. So, I don't know. Presumably they are a significant late-game threat. As of right now, I don't feel too worried about them. Whoa! Whoa! Meteor landed on the canteen and killed 5 people. Oh, wows. Okay. That hurts. Okay, yeah, canteen is low on oxygen. You don't freaking say. Wow. Yeah, and see, that's a very good example as to why you probably want to have a telescope and maybe a laser to shoot that stuff down. Maybe we should just go ahead and work on that a little bit, huh? Okay, telescope is built. Now the next stage would be to build the anti-meteor laser, which takes some of the steel, some bioplastic, and some superconductors. You can sort of see in the background, by the way, that there's this green radius going on here, and I assume this is the range that it is able to defend your base. So we place it down over, let's say, or in this general vicinity and stuff. I am pretty confident we can defend the entire area, so maybe something like this is ideal. Can I make a big one? Nah, I don't think it's the same size. All right, let's place down a meteor right here, anti-meteor laser, and defend the base so we don't ever have that happen again. Never again. Ooh, that looks pretty cool. I hope we get to see this thing in action, actually. That would be pretty cool. Now, we are still very much in the early game, still trying to build up a healthy population and have all the resources necessary to keep them alive kind of stage of things, right? But the game does transition at some point. If we want to build the starport, which is a bigger landing facility, which is to say it's just a much larger landing pad, we can do that. And what will happen is we can open up the colony to visitors who will come to my base, and they will use all of my facilities, eat my food, etc. Now that sounds terrible because you don't get to keep them as working colonists, but on the plus side, they do pay you for the use of all of those facilities. So instead of just becoming a resource-efficient, I guess, kind of commune, we start to become an actual tourist destination and start turning a major profit and buying resources rather than just producing them. And I would like to kind of get to that stage of the game a little bit before I end things. Alright, the starport is now going up, and we will be able to open up for business with visitors and open ourselves up to raids in the process. Okay, so let's go to our landing permissions. Visitors are going to be allowed. Temporary visitors to land, they will use the base's services and pay for them. Okay, now if we have an absolute excess of vegetables, one thing we could do that our visitors would probably enjoy is the use of a bar. Yes, place on a bar. Now, what you do is you chunk, I don't know, tomatoes, onions, or something into a machine, and it makes alcohol. Don't ask me exactly how that works. It just sort of does. So we can place one down over here, I suppose. And why not just go for the larger one just for the heck of it, right? That's probably okay. It's close enough to our storage of food and vegetables. I think this will end up being okay. You just have to walk through a workshop to get to it, but that's okay. It's very blue collar, right? Very blue collar. We'll all like that. Perfect. Okay. Here come some more people. Now, I did place an airlock, 2 of them actually over here, with the hope that this will work kind of like it does in Dawn of Man, where when the visitors or the intruders do come by, we might be able to turn off this airlock and kind of ping-pong them back and forth until my security forces are in position. And what I'm hoping is going to happen is they are going to be only able to enter one at a time and get murdered. That's my hope. I'm not looking for a fair fight. I'm just looking for raw efficiency. We do actually have a visitor ship that's arrived. Okay. Can I possibly, like, find the single visitor that I've got? Let's see, that's a visitor right there. Yep, she found the alcohol, sure enough, and the TV. Okay, well, her morale is going up a little bit as a result. Maybe we get extra money when she leaves if she's happy or something. I have no idea. Is that another visitor? No, it's a medic. Okay. Well, Emma Church, I just want you to understand, I am watching you like a freaking hawk. For all I know, you're an infiltrator here to murder me, and I'm ready to kill you at a second's notice. Nope, she was peaceful. She's leaving. Okay. That's right. Get into that spacesuit and get the heck out of here. Okay. 15 coins for your services. All in all, that wasn't really all that bad. We had an incoming transmission. I just clicked on the wrong thing and I missed it. Crud, we actually were about to have something fun happen. No! Holy crud, this little pad is draining all my power. 33 kilowatts for one pad? Oh my yag! That doesn't seem appropriate. Finally, an incoming transmission. Okay, a ship containing a small group of fugitives are asking for help. They require food, water, and sleep. They will reward me. I accept. Yes, by all means, come here. I've got plenty of food and beds. Wow, nice camo ship. All of a sudden, I'm filled with a little bit more suspicion of these so-called fugitives, but okay. Oh, an armed intruder has been detected. Okay, we have to go and get them. Hang on. Wait. We need to go to yellow alert. Everyone get inside of the base. All right, that means that all of our guards should now be getting their guns and saying, we got to go get these guys. Anika A. Page and whoever the heck you are. Tamaika Franklin. How do I know that you guys are the problem? How do we detect that you guys were armed? Was it because you were shooting this guy? I mean, yeah, they're literally just murdering my people right now. Where are my freaking guard? There's a guard. Shoot them. Why'd you run past them? Oh, you guys are stupid. Well, we're gonna be able to deal with those two, but it sure as heck seems like they just got a lot of people killed with their slow response time. That's problematic, isn't it? Yeah. I think what I'm gonna do is get rid of the landing pad that was over here. Why risk having to have my guards travel all the way on this end of the base to go and deal with them when I can just have a cluster of pads off in this direction? Maybe that's the better way to go. I'm going to go ahead and use a lot of my coins to buy some new technology. The Super Extractor Patent, which basically just means I can build the large extractors now if I want to. But hey, cool. Just, you know, I gotta say I have a little bit more technology on my side. And also, I'm going to start building the dang monolith. Why? I don't think it's actually necessary, but it's going to look cool. And I want to say that I've done that before we end this video. There goes the monolith. I kind of would expect it a little bit more like, I don't know, texture to it? It's like a black void of nothing. The light doesn't even properly reflect off this thing. It's like it's staring into my soul. And it is about done. 60 prestige. Oh, I was expecting like a full 100. Well, now I don't feel like you were worth it at all. A totally pointless achievement. Which is fair, because that's exactly how it describes it. An epic and totally pointless symbol of achievement. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is a pretty good look at Planetbase. It's fairly chill and easy to get into, not too much conflict or difficulty associated as long as you don't get yourself into a bad spot where you go into a death spiral. As long as you can avoid that, I think more or less you're going to be fine. Not sure what the best way is to deal with those intruders. Kind of feels like the damage is done the second they get to your base anyway, but oh well, we managed to repel that anyway. And, yeah, I can definitely see a lot of the influence this game is currently having on the development of Dawn of Man. Some similarities in the systems and the mechanics that are being used, but obviously a little bit more freeform. So kind of cool to see one of the older games by a development studio that I'm really kind of coming to love. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If so, then I would ask you to hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.